Hello, everybody. Okay, we're going to be working at the future continuous or the future perfect tense. Anybody who doesn't know, I'm just going to give you a quick explanation right here. That's if you say I will, we call subject will be plus ing. For the continuous or for the future perfect, that's when we're going to say someone will have, and then what we call participle, but that's also what we can call verb 3. Okay, so if you want a real example, if we plug some stuff in here, Matthew will be Matthew will be teaching. And then we just throw in as well, when will I be teaching? We can say tomorrow. Whereas if we would say we'll have, that one's not going to be teaching. This one will be taught. If we go to the beginning, we say Matthew will have taught a class tomorrow. But then there's one little thing that we're going to look for in the sheet. That's when I'm going to say by tomorrow. So always remembering this, it means it will be completed or it will be ongoing. Maybe it continues. So here again, if we're writing the name of a classmate at the beginning of each statement that you think the prediction will come true for. So here, because obviously there are no classmates at the moment, and I'm just talking to myself, I'm just going to throw in myself, right? Matthew will, if it's live, everyone going to say is it will be living or will have lived in a different place a year from now. So then that's going to be asking if it's continuous, is that going to be ongoing? Is that going to be happening 1 year from now? Or is it more like the future perfect tense and it will have been completed? So if it's the will have lived, would mean that I will have finished living in that place. All right, so then of course Matthew will be living in a different place a year from now. So if it's 9 o'clock tonight and I will have finished making the call is the indication. And we're going to see that one because we see by 9 p.m. So in that case, it means it will be finished by 9 p.m. So Matthew will have made a phone call. So again, we're remembering it will be making or will have made. Matthew will be waking up or will have woken up at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. So here, then that's saying at 7, is that going to be ongoing or completed? See, if I just think about 7 o'clock, the answer is unclear. If, however, we consider it by as being the simple definer here, then we can see clearly that Matthew will be waking up because it's an ongoing process. Whereas if I talk about my reality, I would change the sentence, in fact, to say Matthew, always capitalize names. Matthew will have woken up by 7 a.m. If I use the next sentence, always we need to consider our special word. Is it completed or is it ongoing? So traveled the world by the time they are 50. Definitely going to be Matthew will have traveled the world by the time they are 50. Number 5, going to be talking about study at 3 p.m. tomorrow. Matthew will. Here I'm going to mix this one up. Because I'm going to be teaching actually at that time, I will be teaching, so I say I will not be studying at 3 p.m. tomorrow. And a negative is just that simple. You don't got to complicate anything. Matthew will be getting married within the next years. So that means that sometime within this years, I'm going to be undergoing that process. Of course, if what many of my students would probably put in this instance, will have gotten married. Sorry, will have married within the next years. And you'll say, is that completed? I'm just going to ask you, is getting married a shorter action or a longer action? Is it something that's completed or is it ongoing? See, here's where many students would be interested to compare to the waking up example. And if I say I will have gotten married, let me just double check my answer key. Oh yeah, will have gotten married is correct because it means it will be completed. If I say I will be getting married, this is what I first thought, and wow, this one is fascinating. If I say Matthew will be getting married within the next years, it means that it's going to be continuous and ongoing, where it's not. See, that's where I would make an argument that it might be better to say Matthew will have woken up at 7 a.m. But because we're not putting by, which is functioning as within, that means as soon as we complete the action, then this part is also complete. Okay, let's try the next example here. See, as we said in the beginning, we're always looking for this type of connector, by or within. It's a constraint that basically means completed before. So my baby will be sleeping or will have slept. That's what we need to consider. Will have slept would mean they're just woken up, so of course will be sleeping. Next, if we're going to consider something before the end of the week, Matthew's going to change it to his students. Matthew's students will be making something before the end of the week or will have made. See, again, we're got to consider there's the constraint. It's before, by, within, all show me that I need to use the third verb form. Number 9, will spend time with friends on Friday night. Will be spending or will have spent. On Friday night means at that date I will be continuing with this action. So that's true. We'll say Matthew will be spending time with friends on Friday night. Number 10, play a sport by the end of the week. Very clear to say that Matthew will have played table tennis by the end of the week. Means before the end of the week, I'm definitely going to have completed this action at least one time. If I say Matthew will be playing by the end of the week, these do not agree. Number 11, watch TV at 8 p.m. this evening. Is there a constraint saying it's before or that it's completed? Absolutely not. Matthew will be watching TV at 8 p.m. this evening. For number 12, now as a model, this time next year. So Matthew will, of course, be working as a model or will have worked as a model this time next year. Again, they don't agree. This time next year is a clear future, whereas I need some constraint like by, before, within, and then I can use the future perfect. So Matthew will be working as a model this time next year. Means it's ongoing, not completed. They'll close this month. Oh, that sounds great. I would love to buy some stuff from Costco. So I say we'll be buying some new clothes this month, and of course I like to add some extra details from Costco. Number 14, live in a different country in 5 years. So again, you always need to consider if you're using the continuous or the perfect, is it completed or not? If there's no by, there's no within, then of course it's just going to be continuous. Will be living in a different country in 5 years. Number 15 is cleaning their bedroom this weekend. Again, just a simple future plan. Nothing before. Will be cleaning. Oops. See, this is an error a lot of my students always going to make me will. Oops, then that one's too many. Will be cleaning. Will be living. Matthew will be exercising. No, because it's by, it must be before, and Matthew will have exercised by the time they sleep. Matthew will update social media status by tonight. Will be updating, will have updated. By tonight means before, so then I know it will have updated. Now find out if your classmate. Okay, so last one here. Matthew will be meeting a friend after class. I hope you can see here by seeing, is it completed before, by, within. You can clearly see you need to use the have form, not the be form. The be is just a future time. The have form, however, also will include the third verb form. Alrighty. So I hope that the 0 people watching this enjoyed, and maybe we're going to grab one more sheet. Let's do some, I mean, I'm really the boss here. I don't even know why I ask you guys what you want to do. Okay, just a moment here. Wow, this first one's really interesting. So I say practically appropriate ending and write the matching letter at the end. Okay, let's say one was J. Oh, okay, so I get it. It's together we put the phrase. So we say practically a long view, practically back, practically reality, practically for all, practically aside, practically positive no, practically speaking was the correct answer. Okay, so yours then we're supposed to go like this, practically speaking. And then you also put letter J. Oh, interesting here. The next one was much easier than this first one. At the end of the day, that was the first thing that popped into my head, and that is an answer. This is a really common expression, and when we're using these adverbial phrases, it's how we can give a lot of context or detail without being so stuck inside of the strict meaning of what the adverbs are. So at the end of the day was letter G. Whereas taking the scheme of things, taking the glance, taking the long view, I'm just going to go ahead and skip this one on a positive note. That one is way more common and easy to get. Positive note is going to be letter F, and then we scratch it out. In the grand scheme of things, really common. Wow, very nice. So, okay, basically you're going to be using these phrases instead of using some sort of time. So I could say, when I'm hungry, I will eat. Then you can also add these phrases in. Practically speaking, if you're hungry, you can eat. At the end of the day, I made some money, so my job isn't bad. Taking the long road, taking the long view, that's my guess. Doesn't seem like it's something that common though. In the scheme of things was I, and we scratch that out. Okay. Looking back. That's what I'm going to chuck in. Looking back means like remembering. So if I say looking back, my childhood was pretty good. Being an adult, it's a lot more difficult. At first glance, definitely. means like the first time you saw something. At first glance, English was really difficult, but with more practice and a good teacher, then it became easier. Once and for all. For sure gonna be it. Like you see how if I just didn't know number three and then you just keep going. You don't even let anything bother you. You just keep going easy as can be. Grammar is crazy, but sometimes it's a lot more manageable if you just don't focus on what you don't understand. Eventually you're gonna get it. Okay. Until recently, I had not understood grammar. Okay, in reality. All right, so this one's really interesting because you can think about it as like your gaming persona. So online, I'm a killer, and in reality, I'm a teacher. So leaving that, without a doubt, that one's going to be the last one. Again, I just skipped it because I know this one straight away. I don't even need to think. Without a doubt, this last one was so easy. That means no doubt, no question. Without a doubt, English is fun. So leaving that aside, or do you think that the last one's going to be taking the aside? You guys let me know it down in the comments. I'm not going to do it too quickly. I'll leave it just a second. All right, so then I'm going to let you know if you say taking the long view. That one's really interesting. I'd never really actually heard about that one. What does that one mean? So anytime that you have doubts, don't be afraid to just search about it. So it means to be thinking about what might happen in the future. So I take the long view when I think about my future with my family. What will it be like when my children grow up? And fine, leaving that aside. So leaving that aside, we can focus on the main issue. Interesting, beautiful. So now we're going to circle the best adverbial phrase to complete each sentence. I'm going to go ahead and use this highlighter here in the corner. While we had some failures, taking the long view, or until recently, I believe the project will ultimately succeed. See here, until recently, I mean, there's some change. While we had the failures means that something's going to happen for sure. So then I'm going to go ahead and say, like, taking the long view. Here, I'll check them after. It was a great experience, but at first glance, I probably wouldn't do again. Oh, wow. So great experience means it's a memory. Whereas if I use like at a first glance, that means I'm about to do it. At a first glance, jumping from a plane is really scary. But after I did it, it was easier. My house is without a doubt the most expensive thing. See, my house is leaving that aside makes very little sense. So my house is without a doubt clean. I love dogs, but practically speaking, cats are easier to take care of. Practically speaking means that it's sensible. It's more realistic. So on a positive note, cats are easier to take care of. That's not really a positive note. I could say I love dogs, but on a positive note, I mean, I love dogs isn't negative. I might say I hate dogs, but on a positive note, cats are easy to take care of. We often argue, but at the end of the day, or at a first glance, we both want the company to succeed. All right. I think it's at the end of the day means when we finish, whereas here is before. So at first glance, it looked like we often just argue. But at the end of the day, we both want the company to succeed. It's possible to use both, but this one's always going to come before the difficult situation. I've been ill, but practically speaking, or on a positive note, I've had time to watch my favorite films. So just because I've been ill, that's a bad thing. You can see on a positive note, which is a good thing, that I've had time to watch my favorite films. In reality, it seemed like a bargain. Or at first glance, I seemed like a bargain. So before the problem, you can see here, easy to tell this one. I'm tired of arguing. Let's settle this disagreement once and for all. So finally, or in the grand scheme of things. See, no way that makes any sense. So in the grand scheme of things, our argument didn't mean anything after the compromise. Until recently, I'd never considered buying a car, but I'm starting to wish I had one. Yeah, definitely gonna be. So looking back, I had never considered buying a car. Doesn't really connect to this current action. I failed the exam, but leaving that aside, or once and for all, I think I learned a lot from the class. So even though I failed, that's not what this one means. I still learned a lot. The trip sounds amazing, but practical speaking, I'm not sure I can afford it. Oh, really interesting. Here's where the error is going to be. Let me know what you think. I'll give you guys a little time to think about it while I point out all of the mistakes. I enjoyed my experience at university, but looking back, I'm not sure how much I learned. Without a doubt, oh, here's the problem. My favorite food is pizza. At first look, the book seems like a typical romance, and this is the type of error that would stop a native speaker understanding what you're saying. Like, oh my gosh. This is the exact kind of error that is so perfect to point out and why I love teach this. Although there were many challenges, in the end of the day, the event was a great success. The budget is important, but leaving that apart, ooh, interesting. So now we're going to go back and check them all out. This one's really easy. You just say practically. But practically speaking, I'm not sure I can afford it. Next one going to be looking back without a doubt at first glance. The book seems like a typical romance. Although there were many challenges, at the end of the day, the event was a great success. So here, leaving that aside, we also need to consider the timing. Now complete the sentences with your own ideas and then compare your answers with a partner. What isn't important in the grand scheme of things? Honestly, I think that, so in the grand scheme of things means at the end of the day, or if you consider your whole life, what isn't important? What you eat for breakfast isn't important in the grand scheme of things. It's more about your energy or your attitude. Taking the long view, it's important to save money for retirement. I think this is so often ignored until it's too late. Looking back, I don't think I would go to school in Alberta again. Oh, if it's again, that's only one time. I don't think I would eat mm, spicy food. I'm gonna say now more specific. Karen's spicy soup again. For me, it was too hot. Without a doubt, the best pizza is from Italy. And this is a very important one to pay attention to. Some of my students are always saying Italia, but nope. So sorry, in English, it's Italy. Ask and answer the conversation questions with your partner using the adverbial phrases from the box below in your responses. Tick the adverbial phrase you use. Try to use each adverbial phrase at least once. Are we too dependent on technology today? Oh my gosh, sorry. Are we too dependent on technology nowadays? And I would say that remembering to answer the questions using the phrases. So again, we can flip up here if you feel like you don't remember. Oh, great one. Okay. At first glance, it looks like teenagers are too dependent on smartphones. Smartphones, which are making them dumb. Haha, so funny. Smartphones can make us dumb. Does school prepare young people for the real world? School allows students to take the long view and focus on what they are going to do after they turn 18. What changes would you like to make in your city or town? Why? I think at the end of the day, the biggest changes. What's going on? I have no viewers. It doesn't matter. What? Oh, I just end it. Whatever. Nobody's watching me. I don't know. Just nobody watching. So what's the point? You know what I mean?